Hi, everybody. This is day 1193. Believe so. Let me see, make sure. Yes, I'm coming on very late. I'm burning the midnight oil. Thank you so much. Just really trying to pray for Panama right now. 1,193 days. A lot has happened since Richard was targeted for being a whistleblower. Code red. That means they used their a power and abused it. The chain of command did, and they used the tools that were entrusted to them as weapons, and they retaliated against Richard, and it escalated. It escalated. They fomented hate. They fomented hate instead of esprit de corps, and Richard was then murdered. Um, and whistleblowers uh, absolutely need to be protected. So they could have easily shipped him out. Richard had requested to be deployed again. He would have been deployed. He requested to leave Delta Battery, even if it would be a different battery. He wanted to leave Delta Battery. And they didn't do that. Um, it makes you wonder. Uh, And I don't wonder anymore because it's very clear we have 44 four-star generals and admirals. We're so top heavy. We give them everything. We're $33 trillion in debt. We don't have um, anything to show for it. It's like these wars have just drained us as people, drained the land, drained the people, and I mean more than just the United States. Um, they're in a destructive mode, and we don't have anything to show for it. Um, if you want to look back in history and look what they built, look at their infrastructure, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. And I'm talking about um, just amazing, amazing architecture uh, all through all through the world. So, and we're not doing that. We have $33 trillion in debt. I don't know if any other country has been in this kind of proportional debt as we are in right now, and we don't have anything to show for it. We have a failed. Everything is a failure, and I put that. And and I don't want to say that this is not to say that there are not people that are trying to work inside the system and do the right thing. There are, and we're getting institutional support. What I'm saying is that we have this top heavy um, leadership of 44 four-star generals and admirals that could absolutely do something to help. We give them everything to help, and they choose not to. Matter of fact, they choose to do the opposite, and they have betrayed us. And I think this is really important to understand. They have been given everything by us, our trust, our respect, our monies, the power, because the military is not a democracy. They can click heels together, they can give orders and get things done, and they choose not to. They choose not to. They choose to hurt our service members. They choose to put them in these dangerous situations. Richard was a whistleblower, and they chose not to protect him. They chose not to deploy him with a different unit. They chose not to, you could assign him uh, over into Korea or even into Germany. Uh, they chose not to. They left him there, and they proceeded, and I'm talking about Major General Clem Coward. He participated, this two-star general participated in the Code Red. Okay? He participated in hurting Richard. And, because absolutely, as a two-star general, with all the lawyers at your fingertips, you have the lawyers at your fingertips. You have people's numbers on your phone that you can call. And um, the setup job, it makes me wonder if Major General Clem Coward um, helped set up this staged fake DUI to hurt the credibility of the whistleblower. It makes me wonder what Richard was whistleblowing about. We know it was about uh, uh, child abuse. We know 100% that it was about child abuse. We have reports, at least 3 reports to the Child Protective Services by Richard, and we have details about that, and we know that he turned in sex videos. We know that Dallas Hart was rushing over to his mother's house to find the child porn. The child porn. We know that Leilani Hart was in possession of child porn because she notarized a criminal complaint affidavit that was a confession, even a confession for herself, because that child porn was in her home. It was in her home. And um, yeah, so she waited until, what even motivated her to turn in the notarized criminal complaint affidavit? What even motivated her to do it, right? And there's a lot of fear surrounding that. And it's interesting because um, was she trying to cover up for something so bad that she rather, uh, I don't know, I don't know, maybe you can tell me why she decided to put in that criminal complaint affidavit and have it notarized and make sure that it was in the CID, that make sure that it was in the FBI, and that Tavita Nusa had information about bodily harm on Richard, that they were tampering with evidence, and and she's the mother of Richard's platoon leader, Dallas Hart. And we're getting information that Tanya Katzen played a larger role in all of this than what we even knew, and that also explains why Danae Katzen would take the risk that she did to divert our attention. Right? It's like the people that come up to you are the ones that really are involved in this and want to divert your attention. Um, and I think is that like a norm? Um, I don't know. I don't know. So let me get on Facebook, make sure that I'm on so I can see your comments. There I am. Okay. So, and you did hear me right. Tanya Katzen, the mother of Danae Katzen, she is becoming, well, she's a suspect. She's a suspect. And I think that if she's out there and she's listening, or if someone is listening to this, why would you send your daughter to do what you did, right? Um, you know, and the whole criminal history of Danae is also interesting. And the witness testimonies that we received about Danae and all her troubles when we called like 9 different people about Danae and all of her con artistry. And they would absolutely say that her parents would bail her out every time, would pay for it. Um, so what's that? That just puts some red flags up. I'm not for sure, but it puts some red flags up. And now that we know that Tanya Katzen is absolutely connected with 2905 Bliss Avenue, and 2905 Bliss Avenue is a very important address in all of this. And then other information that's coming to us about Tanya Katzen. Um, Something is not. She's becoming a suspect. So that needs to be answered, the information that we're getting in. And I'm going to drop some more names today because I think it's really important for people to understand that judges were involved in this. Of course, everyone knows that Judge Robert Lee Shook, um, he was absolutely I think he's a colonel. Just he hightailed it out of here when we asked for open records twice. Big time open records twice. And let's see, what were we asking him? Let me see if I can bring that up because I think that's very important. I want to talk about the judges and what was going on with the probable cause affidavits and the warrants. I think that is super important. Let me see, I spelled it wrong. But I want to bring that up because in my notes. And I should have put that up. Yeah, it was about all of the probable cause affidavits and see, oh, there's so much here. And about the warrants. Yeah. Uh, the warrants. Um, Also the autopsies. The Oh my gosh, there's so much here, and I don't know if I should say it all, um, because there is so many things going on behind the scenes. I have to. Yes, I'm going to get that ready for you. Weed through it to make sure I don't say the wrong thing, but our open records absolutely has to do with search warrants and probable causes, and also um, taking up remains. I can say that. And the autopsies. Um, so those are the really the main things what kind of proceedings were taking place, because there were, to us, we're getting information, the proceedings about the weapons smuggling and, you know, in that realm and with certain people in that realm. And we wanted open records because it had to do with Richard's then complaints. So he hightailed it out of here. But the thing is that information is coming out anyway. And so, they can't keep a lid on it forever. There's too many people involved, and the truth always makes its way out, and the lie is always exposed. So that's why it's not really even worth taking those kind of risks in this case. It's not like you're lying about liking someone's dress or not. This is about the murder of a soldier. And how can you then you're going to have more charges on you for obstructing the justice and tampering with evidence and intimidating witnesses and all of these other things that have happened since. So the crime just gets worse and worse, but the truth comes out. So this is really important to know if that Judge Robert Shook had the military jurisdiction. And there was another judge that, uh, well, she will have to answer. Um, and that is that Judge Penny Hamilton has been, the rumor mill, that Judge Penny Hamilton was presiding or making rulings in this case on the civilian side. So that is really important. And that the defense attorney, and I think I can say his name now, is attorney Felix Valenzuela. So yeah, so I did it. Yeah, Felix Valenzuela, a defense attorney. So I think that is really important because it's already out there now in our letters that we have. It's already out, and so the I think these public servants, right? They receive taxpayers' money. They should have to answer some questions at least. You know, if Felix Valenzuela was defending anybody in connection with Richard's murder case, disappearance, accusations of anything that Richard was turning in as a whistleblower, they should let us know. We have a right to know if someone was charged with manslaughter in Richard's case, uh, weapon smuggling in Richard's case, and whatnot. Right? They should absolutely tell us. So I don't know why they want to, uh, if they're on the up and up, why they want to keep all this a secret. Shh, 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 don't forget, it's always a secret. Why would they want to do that unless they were implicated? And, at the end of the day, their excuse of protecting the brand, the Army brand, doesn't work. It doesn't work because everyone knows that the military, they have their challenges. It's all through history. They have their challenges. And so we expect challenges, but we don't expect them to obstruct justice and to cover up the murder of their own soldiers, right? We don't expect them to do that when it is on the homeland in a military installation that belongs to us. It's not like it's in some kind of foreign land and there's, unless it's Juarez that they're protecting. I don't know. Um, so at the end of the day, the the excuse that they're protecting the brand or they're protecting certain people's jobs or whatever, it just really is not a smart move, and and everyone can see it, and people end up talking, and that's the thing is we're getting word that there was absolutely a gag order, that the media was not allowed in. They weren't given the information, and that the case, the evidence was sealed, uh, over and over and over again. Why? Why? If Richard is a whistleblower and, and he is a code red and he's murdered, they need to expose it, not seal it, not conduct a gag order. They need to bring the media in and they need to expose it to every last service member so that it doesn't happen again, right? Um, that, but keeping it a secret, it's like you're defending the criminals and uh, you're betraying the whistleblower. You're betraying the soldiers because you're putting them in danger for more of this stuff to come out. So that's why I'm putting out these two judges' names, Judge Robert Shook and Judge Penny Hamilton, um, because they do have information, and they need to uh, let the people uh, that pay the bills, and of course the El Paso community, of course Fort Bliss, what has happened in our son's case. And absolutely there were judges in our son's case. And so we've been working very hard to get all of those unsealed, and get that information out to the public so that we can know what happened, clean this mess up, so that we can have success in our military in the future, um, by driving the leadership to do the right thing. And those that really participated in this to the extreme, they need to be stripped as an example to the other leaders, that they better follow their guidelines, their standard operating procedures. This is the thing about being Anglican. I don't know if a lot of you know about being Anglican, but we have a book called the Book of Common Prayer. And of course, uh, you know, our book is the Holy Scriptures, the Bible. And if anybody knows anything about the Book of Common Prayer, it is a very liturgical, um, it gives very little wiggle room to mankind. It doesn't matter if you're a priest. It doesn't matter if you're, a reader in the church or any, because of that liturgy, there's very little wiggle room to do your own thing. And some people have thought that that was not so good, but this is not an art show, you know. Um, Worshiping God is not an art show, right? And having a church is not something that you can just be very smorgasbord with, right? Um, everything has to, in order for it to function, um, in what is its function? To glorify God and enjoy Him forever, right? You have to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. So, in order for it to function that way and to have that outcome, it's very narrow. There's not much leeway. And so we can have priests um, that might, you know, have different feelings or different, um, I don't know, outlooks, but not too much, not too much. And they sure can't just do their own thing, okay? And and that's why there's been these schisms because they've attempted to do their own thing. And no, but we have this historical book, um, the Bible, and in order to glorify God and enjoy Him forever, we have a liturgy that we use, the Book of Common Prayer, that, so in comparison to the military, they have their oaths. They have their standard operating procedures. They have their UCMJ. They should have a very little wiggle room. Very little wiggle room to go rogue, you know? Because you get into these positions and we're human and it can get to your head, right? But you have command over the sheep. You have command over our service members. You have an obligation for their well being, for their success, for their health. You really do. And especially in the military, you have an obligation for their to take care of them. And you're responsible for their health and their well being and their success. And that's why we have good generals or bad generals, because we want success. We want to win the wars. It doesn't, we want it to be a just war. We don't want to just be a destructive force. We want to defend our Constitution, the land, and the people. That's the whole point of it. But we have a rogue general class right now. They are rogue. They're not following their SOPs. They can't even do a budget. They can't even pass an audit. They can't even win a scuffle, a war. All they want to do is bomb. Oh, we just bombed people in Syria. Okay, but you didn't win anything. What, you're just using our weapons that cost thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of dollars? Um, you know, it's it's so ridiculous. There's no honor, integrity, no systematic purpose in what they're doing. And, you can see that by the installations. And, we, as the mother and father, sister, brothers, wives, the spouses, the husbands, the wives, the children of these service members, and the service members themselves, we can, as Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe plainly said, which was brilliant, we can drive them to do the right thing. We can hold their feet accountable. And, if it's too much, if what they've done is too egregious, they need to be stripped. And I'm telling you right now that Lieutenant General Donna Martin and Sean Bernabe need to be stripped. And I think McConville does too. He needs to be brought back, and Major General Clem Coward needs to be brought back. And there needs to be some court martials. There needs to be some transparency. And, there needs to be a rethinking of our 44 four-star generals and admirals too, because we have some admirals that were heading up Fort Bliss's emergency intake center. That, you know, you have 85,000 unaccounted for minors. Where are they going? And admirals that are given everything, can't develop a system in today's world to keep up with 85,000 minors. Um, I'm sorry. It's not, they have staffs, they have people that they can call, they have resources, and they can click heels together, they can go visit these places. Thank you, God. And so they could prevent what was going on in the intake centers. They can absolutely prevent it. And the bottom line is that there's not a moral fortitude. There's not this moral foundation anymore. It's, let's get over on people. And I think the biggest, and you see right now in Panama, is the business plan is everything. It's what, because the whole thing in Panama is not about the Green New Deal, okay? It's sure not about the Green New Deal. And they really don't care about the Green New Deal. It's just another psyop method of getting us to um, uh, buy certain things, want certain things, need certain things in their business plan. And their business plans are huge, huge. They don't have a little sewing business plan like we do, or, um, you know, uh, a little independent business that we have a small customer base. Their customer base is huge, and their business plan spans out years. All these different contracts, and um, you know, and they are lucrative. They are billions of dollars, millions and billions of dollars, and they do it um, using the bricks and mortar and the funding. They don't have to pay for the loans. They just tax. They tax, and then they legalize that theft, that money to, um, their pet project, and they get the backing. We have to go to the bank and say we want to open up a business and we want this loan, and they get access to our military, to our Air Force, to our Navy. They get the protection from our military. They get the funding from the taxpayers. They get the free labor, because the taxpayers pay for the labor, and so they get this really sweet little deal in their business plan, and of course then their profits are huge. So it's very, very clear that on Fort Bliss this stuff was happening because of the weapon smuggling, the ammunition smuggling, even grenade smuggling, um, and of course the human trafficking and the child pornography. And if any of that pornography has one child in it from that emergency intake center, um, you know, uh, and I say it because I wouldn't be surprised if some of the child pornography that they were producing and distributing, or and selling had some of the children in it from the emergency intake center. So these are huge. The human trafficking is huge money. Child pornography is huge because we don't have the leadership that nips it in the bud, or that clicks it, or punishes those that have it. We have a child predator problem. We have a child pornography, which is child torture problem. We have then they just wink over any kind of rape. and sexual harassment, right? So, and then of course that leads to the PTSD and the suicide problems, and that leads to the need for guns. They always talk about, you know, we don't need these guns, we don't need these guns, yet they do everything possible for people to want and feel like they need some guns, including our family, right? Because of the threats, because of the lack of doing their due diligence with whistleblowers, giving them their safety, and also in following the SOPs, which state that the barracks have to be somewhere where the soldiers, the service members, would want to live. And they have not provided a place where the soldiers would want to live. And so that is, they're doing everything in their power to make people want guns instead of bringing peace, uh, um, so people would want to spend their money on other things, right? Because most people would want to spend their money on other things, not guns. So, but they're in the business of selling guns. So all this talk about banning weapons, I'm a little yeah, they'll want to sell us trash guns, right? Not guns that really will do damage if we're attacked, right? So yeah, it's and notice they always the effective um, yeah. But if we had peace, no one would want really the guns except for the hunters and the sports shooters, those people on skis. I love to watch it in the Olympics when they, what is it called, when they ski and they have their guns and they have to shoot the targets. It's just amazing because anyone that has ever shot a weapon knows that your heart, you have to hold your breath and your heart can't beat because it will hurt your shooting and you will miss the target. It will make your body move, just your breathing. So if you are doing some aerobics like that kind of cross country skiing where your heart is pumping like crazy and then you try to lay down and shoot a target, that is just uh, an amazing sport, amazing discipline and fitness in order to do that. So I love to watch that. Um, so yeah, these generals, they are just fomenting, and not only weapons on base for their security because they're being raped and sexually harassed and approached by all kinds of drug dealers and being um, oh, what do you call it with the money, um, racketeering. The racketeering, that was one of the very first charges that came to us, was that the soldiers were being racketeered. Um, but what it does is it spills out into El Paso, and El Paso, or the surrounding community will know, hey, on base, oh, we can bring drugs in, that fentanyl, oh yeah, bring that in. We can make a load of money off of these soldiers. They're getting paid by the taxpayers, and they got paid $25,000 enlistment bonus. They get that enlistment bonus, $5,000 on this date and this date and this date, and they know exactly what date that those soldiers get their $5,000. And we'll bring in some hookers, we'll bring in some drugs, we'll bring in some guns, because, illegal gun sales are part of this case. Okay? Illegal gun sales are part of this case. And, and anyone that doesn't like this Vanity Fair and becomes a whistleblower, well, we're going to get them because we're having too much fun destroying the Army, our sons and daughters, um, the community, the Fort Bliss, a military installation, and even over into Juarez. And so, everything is connected. And if the generals wanted to do the right thing, think about it. We had a Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe repeatedly telling us that they take underage drinking seriously, but under his command, they drank grog while in the field from a sealet that had antifreeze in it. And what is it? 11 of them had to be hospitalized. Okay? 11. And that included a warrant officer, that included NCOs. So, yeah, that he didn't take underage drinking seriously. Okay? Because if they're doing it in the field, that it is uncontrolled in the barracks, and that they're not fearing their career. They're not fearing their career at all. It's just a party. It's a frat party every day. That's what I was told over and over again. They were drunk all the time, and these are our military that are allowed to live in this psyop that this is cool, that this is how you run a military. You run a military by raping people and by being drunk all the time and taking drugs and having foul language, and people say, oh, they've had foul language forever and ever. Okay, well, it's about time we stop. It's about time we stop. Because that is damaging. That's damaging to the esprit de corps. And this has nothing to do with, oh, these are men, you don't know what you're talking about. No, I know what I'm talking about. I raised 2 sons. I know what I'm talking about. I have 6 grandsons, 2 granddaughters. I understand. And, the tongue is the hardest thing to control. It's the hardest thing to control. And I know there's some use, but it is out of control. There is no discipline. And so what that shows me is that the generals don't require any discipline, don't require the SOP to be followed, don't require, and they don't even punish. And this is where a code red can easily come in, because they feel like they can get away with it. And this is all Major General Clem Coward, okay? It's all Major General Clem Coward. Because his name was signed on that document. His name. He could have stopped this anytime. He could have clicked Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick's heels together so fast and said, what the hell are you doing? Right? And that would have been nice language. He could have absolutely did that so fast to the unit. Absolutely, he knew who is a whistleblower. What whistleblowers do we have right now? What are they whistleblowing? We need to protect this whistleblower because arrests are happening. And it's so sad that the whistleblowing got so serious that Richard would need to have extra protection. But that is exactly the case. And they denied that, and they participated Major General Clem Coward participated in the code red of our son, Richard Halliday. And not only that, he participated in the code red and then he called off the search. He called off the search because he knew Richard was dead. And he probably knew where the remains were. And, this is 3 years. I'm not saying this off the hip. I'm saying this from getting information from the reports that are coming in to us that we need to have validated, absolutely, about the judge's rulings. About the judge's rulings, and also about the Gomar. Also, about him calling off the search, why they never contacted us. That's clear. That's fact. Why he never called us. I've never spoke with Major General Clem Coward once. Not once. They got rid of him real quick. Really quick. So it's very clear that he participated, and he absolutely knows where Richard's remains are, what happened to Richard's remains, what happened to Richard. He absolutely knows. There's not a doubt in my mind. He knows more than anybody because he is a 2-star general. He has the JAG. He has the El Paso Police Department. He has the MPs, the military police department. He has the CID. He's, part of them. He has the DES. He has Thomas Kane's number. Hey, Tom, you think Thomas Kane's not going to take his call? Thomas Kane didn't take our call. But let me tell you what, Thomas Kane, I bet you, never dissed Major General Clem Coward. So he absolutely knew. Absolutely knew. It's really important because it wasn't Delta Battery that was worried on July 9th, 2020. Okay? Major General Clem Coward absolutely knew, oh my gosh, what do we do? I am going to have to rescind the Gomar, rescind the chaptering, rescind the field grade Article 15. I'm going to have to publicly make a apology. I'm going to have to give restitution, reestablish Richard, give him restitution. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And did he do it? Or did he order an escalation of the code red? Because he called off the search. Okay? He didn't do anything and good in the favor of Richard until the 2nd of September of 2020. 2nd of September 2020. Okay? When the people, meaning us, meaning you, drove him to do something. Okay? So he was outside of the law before then. He's absolutely culpable. Absolutely. Did he, and so what I'm saying is premeditated murder in our son's case. There's been talk about this manslaughter. That, okay, they just had a scuffle. It got out of hand. You know, and oh my gosh, they panicked. And Richard lived for like an hour. You know, they didn't call the medical, you know, and then he died of his injuries and whatever, and then they were like, okay, what do we do now? You know, that's manslaughter. Right? But I'm saying this is more than that. This is, you need to abduct him, and make it look like a suicide. You know, make it look like a suicide. That's what I'm saying. So, and I think that Felix Valenzuela, defense attorney Felix Valenzuela, could answer a lot of questions in this, and I think that Judge Penny Hamilton, she could answer a lot of questions in this. So, you know, are we ready for it? I think we are. I know I am. I've been ready from the very beginning when Lieutenant Colonel Allie Payne, who I think should also be stripped of her ranks, asked me if I'm ready to hear about my son. And that was a threat. I want to make that very clear to people. I wasn't sure. I was like, did she just threaten me? I'm absolutely sure, going back over my records, that was a threat. That was a threat. That was the launch of the smear campaign. And they just decided, okay, and you know, it's nothing new. I want to make that clear too. They have this in place. They've done it before. They've done it to others. They brag about it. They brag that they can skew the narrative, that they can make people, the public, not want anything to do with this case, to not care about Richard, to not want anything to do because, oh my gosh, you know, I heard this about, you know, to put thoughts of questions, you know, is this family on the up and up? Is this soldier really just a jerk? Right? So they put all this doubt in the public's mind so that they can get away with their crime. And they talk about keyboard warriors, right? Keyboard warrior. They are the biggest keyboard warriors ever. They're out there all the time, tipping their fingers on their phone and on their computer and making memes and whatever. They're out there all the time. So, you know, because their job, they have an army host of keyboard warriors to manipulate, to even put, and this is the dirty part, they want to sow doubt in even the family members. Okay? That's the dirty part. They want to sow doubt in the family members. So the family members will give up and say, oh, okay, I'm not going to fight for my loved one that you murdered. That you murdered. And that's how they get away with these murders. These so-called suicides, these so-called murders, these or these so-called AWOLs or whatever, and then they get caught, or these so-called overdoses. Let's that's so they don't want people to know about the standard operating procedures that they're supposed to follow. There's the UCMJ and the standard operating procedures and their oaths and their creeds combined create a very narrow path in which they can operate. Okay? They have boundaries, and this is how they're supposed to operate. And the problem is they're operating outside of that, and nobody is holding them accountable for that. And no one is, the ones that have oversight are, looking the other way. They're looking the other way. And, I talk about the HRC, Human Resources Command, seriously, because and also the Armed Service Committee, in both the House and the Senate, who is deciding who's in these very, very important positions? Right? And I understand there can be some not too good of people, but they have to work within those boundaries. And we're not getting the oversight, we're not getting the accountability until this case. I think, I don't even think in Vanessa Guillen the case is totally accounted for. Absolutely not in the other cases. But we're working very, very hard to get accountability in this case, and all that hard work is starting to pay off, because the good people within the system are starting to say, wait a minute, we have a chance to make a difference now. We have someone that, has done a lot of work to lay down a foundation that could actually get accountability. And that's the evidence. We have collected so much evidence. And of course, that evidence is hard evidence, circumstantial evidence, and irregularities. And I'm getting like a master's degree in investigation and the legal system. Not quite there yet, but it's getting there. I'm willing anyway. I'm willing. We're willing. Team Find Richard Halliday, we're willing. And, when you have that much evidence, then what you need is the institutional support. And at the beginning of this, it looked grim. But it doesn't anymore. It doesn't anymore. We're getting that institutional support because the evidence is so overwhelming, and we've had to work very, very hard to get it. Because the tampering with evidence and the sealing, the gag orders, all of that was unbelievable. Unbelievable in this case. So we've had to work very hard to get it. And you know what happens when you get institutional support plus evidence? You get accountability. That's the magic formula. So that's why we're at the point where we can, uh, you know, give you some names, tell you where we're going with this, because we're getting that institutional support, and and we need public support. So if you want to have the SOPs of the military, the standard operating procedures, the UCMJ, which is the military codex, right, for their laws, for their regulations and everything. If you want that followed, if you want the commanders to follow that and be held accountable to follow that with their creeds, with their oaths, right, to be looked at very carefully in all of this and held accountable for not following it, and those that have committed these egregious crimes, um, of letting our military installations become crime havens instead of disciplined fighting forces, yeah, then, we need your support. And we just want the truth about Richard. We have, from the very beginning, we just want the truth about Richard. And we were ready to hear anything about Richard. And I'm very happy to report, especially being his mother, I'm very happy to report that he was never in the federal criminal database. And that on July 9th, 2020, right? Just days before his murder, um, he he was given notice that an agreement had been made that, uh, because he maintained his innocence, and they also absolutely deemed him innocent until proven guilty, right? And there was no proof. There was no proof. There was no video. There was no open container. There was no six-pack of beer. There was nothing, right? There was nothing. And you're taking two people to a place and you get set up, right? That's what it was. And on July 9th, they realized that, and they had made that agreement that he was a free man. Richard was so happy when he signed that on July 9th, 2020. Okay? He was a happy guy because he knew that everything that was levied against him, now the foundation of it, the ground of it, fell from their feet. He was happy. And he, totally clean record. Totally clean record. And he's had a clean record since. So that means, who was lying about the AWOL and deserter? Who was lying? Who was lying? And to me, all fingers point to Major General Clem Coward. And then, of course, that was carried on by Lieutenant General Donna Martin, who's in charge. She is the IG now. We need her. And yet, there's a conflict of interest here, right? She needs to recuse herself, and we need another IG, Inspector General, because she was the CID in charge when all this went down over the Vanessa Guillen case, over the Enrique Roman Martinez case, over the Austin Hawk case, over Richard's case. she needs to be stripped from that uniform. And don't forget, she contacted us the day before January 6th to tell us not to go. And you're like, what? There's going to be, upwards of 1 million people there. There's going to be all kinds of media there. You're telling us not to go. What do you know? What do you know? They absolutely knew. And so this is another reason why this case had to be covered up, because of that event. Because they knew something beforehand. If they're going to warn us, why didn't they warn everybody? Why, you're a 2-star general. You're up for the 3rd star. Maybe she had no, I don't think she had the 3rd star yet. But you're up for the 3rd star. You have media at your fingertips. They will absolutely take your call. They will absolutely give you privilege and your words more weight than mine. Why didn't she do it? I mean, she has an obligation to the American people to protect their rights of free speech. So, if she thought they were threatened, did she think that we were threatened? I mean, this case has so many facets to it. So many. And it wasn't necessary if they would stick to the UCMJ, stick to the standard operating procedures, stick to their oaths, stick to their creeds, do what is right, and have oversight and have consequences when they act the maggot. That's how they would say it in Ireland. When they would act the maggot and wiggle outside of the bounds of the law. So, and they're worse than that. They're creating criminal gangs and syndicates on their military installations. They're feeding it. And so therefore there's more whistleblowers. With more whistleblowers comes more retaliation, more division, right? Less esprit de corps. So they're not fulfilling their duty. Richard shouldn't even have to be a whistleblower. I don't know if that makes sense, but it does to me. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Danielle, for coming on. She reported the day before Richard Halliday disappeared. I don't know. The 22nd of July, 2020, I know what you're talking about. Leilani Hart's criminal complaint affidavit that she had notarized on the 22nd of July, 2020. I'll fill you in more about that, because we're looking into the dates, the timeline, everything. We've never had a hard timeline, and there's reasons why. So, yeah, that was just a guide. It was a guide. Okay. And it's interesting because it was Marlon Soto that pushed it back that day. So, yeah. And he's a dirty agent. He's tampering. So did he tamper with the timeline? Did he tamper with some information? So it's because of Richard's phone, not having Richard's phone, not not having Richard's PS4, not having Richard's, um, those records, those warrants being sealed, just the lack of them being transparent with us, from the very beginning. And this whole car issue with him, we haven't let that go either. I think we've been lied to about so many things. The car being one, his PS4 being one, his phone being another. Um, yeah, lots of things. Laptop. Um, yeah, it is. They failed your son. Yes, and it's so horrible that you have had to do all this investigation. Exactly. Shook is Shuck. Hamilton is right. Valenzuela is right. They need to talk. Absolutely, they need to talk. So horrible. Absolutely. And it's been, I mean, we're way over 3 years, and the pain and suffering they have caused us is the truth, is absolutely the truth. And so, yeah. Thank you so much, Grace, for your love and hearts and red balloons. I'm praying for you. Thank you so much. I can't imagine your pain. um, yeah, I'm not allowed to get emotional. It's been absolutely hell. But you have to stay together, strong, um, because so much is riding on this. It's Richard. We want, like it's going to be All Saints Day, and we're doing something special with our memorial garden, and Richard's not there. We don't have Richard's remains. Um, it's horrible what they've done. And him so young, he shouldn't even be there. He should be alive and full of vim and vigor. Like I say, full of vim and vigor, doing his thing. So yeah, they've it's horrible what they've done. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for coming on. I think that was jaw dropping, and please share. And another thing too is we are still getting signatures and signatures for the active duty Fort Bliss soldier. Please do not forget to campaign. I know everyone listening, if you haven't signed it, please sign it. Just pray for that soldier, for that congressional inquiry. It's moving forward, but we need to show support behind it, behind him. And this is a congressional inquiry. We should have had a congressional inquiry years ago. Years ago. And so this is something very, very important. So please campaign for those signatures. Um, that will be uh, a huge, huge help in driving them to do the right thing, right? So, okay, everyone, thank you so much. And we will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.